You understand why those nuclear facilities had to go, right? You understand why those intercontinental ballistic missiles have to go. You understand when people say they have to go, they're not warmongers, they're peace lovers. They're America supporters. Isolationism in the face of this enemy is suicide. The Marxists don't believe in God. So who's the sovereign? Whoever's in control. And so they come up with these phony models. The bourgeoisie versus the proletariat, the people, they took over the bourgeoisie, the proletariat, therefore the sovereign. But they're not. Show me one communist regime that has a democratic form of anything. It's a relative handful. It's a Politburo. It's an excuse for fascism and dictatorship. They're the sovereign. God would say, oh, no. That is a huge problem. Immorality, power hungry, you know the answer, 100 million dead people. But what about Islam? They believe in a God. What about that? Their interpretation of what they believe in is the problem. They believe God tells them to impose their interpretation of Islam on the entire world, that he directs them to do that the West must be destroyed. Eventually, the Marxists must be destroyed. Everything must be leveled. The entire society, the world society, must be destroyed. The Marxists, the entire world society must be destroyed. For different outcomes, but the same means. This is why you see marching in the street, the fusion of the Marxists and the Islamists. Why? They'll figure out the end result later and kill each other. Just like different forms of communists, whether it was Lenin, Stalin, Trotsky, and so forth. Stalin killed Trotsky because they had different ideas but it was about power, centralized power. Much the same with Islam. It's about power, centralized power dressed up as faith. But the means to get to the paradise of the workers' paradise under Marxism, the means to get to the earthly paradise under Islam is to destroy everything else. To have a blank slate. Now, how do we know this? Because Marx wrote about it in the terms of Marxism. Well, how do we know it about Islam? Because the terrorists have written about it. They're ideologues. They're so-called scholars. They've told us. They've told us. They've told us. When you understand that, you understand why those nuclear facilities had to go, right? You understand why those intercontinental ballistic missiles have to go. You understand when people say they have to go, they're not warmongers, they're peace lovers. They're America supporters. Isolationism in the face of this enemy is suicide. We don't want any more wars. Well, good for us. That's what they want. We don't want to instigate them. They may hit our troops. You don't have to instigate them. The fact that you live and exist instigates them. That's what Netanyahu understands. That's what the Israelis understand, because they've had to live with it directly. That's what thinking Americans understand, or those who wish to understand can understand. But we have our own enemy within, ideologues, many of whom are Democrats, many of whom are in the media, and some of whom are infesting our party and our conservative movement and MAGA, claiming that they represent us, when they understand and know absolutely nothing, which is why they don't engage intellectually or intelligently. They attack. Oh, you're a neocon. What? You must like war. You're a war. What? You obviously don't care if anybody dies in the American military. This is what you have to deal with. But we won. Those of us who believe in faith and enlightenment, we won this battle. There's more to come. President Trump did exactly what I think the founders and the framers would have wanted him to do. Doesn't matter how he came to it. The man has enormous common sense, and he's much more faithful now than he's ever been. I believe that with God because he was almost murdered. He knew, whether instinctively or otherwise, that could not stand. And so it did. Whereas other presidents talked about it, he did something about it. The Israelis and Netanyahu know that they'll be back. They'll be back for more. How do they know? Because they've had to suffer the consequences. They have signed deals with terrorists. They gave Gaza to the Palestinians, who turned around and used it as a terrorist launching site. They've signed multiple deals. They've signed Oslo. They've signed other deals under pressure from the United States and Europe and the UN. And Netanyahu said, no more deals. That's enough. Now we're talking about nuclear weapons. We're talking about ballistic missiles. They came into our country. They slaughtered and raped our people. You think we're going to just roll over and sign ceasefires with them? That's not happening.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.